Hi guys, in today's video we'll be continuing on from yesterday and we'll be adding picture boxes to our UI application. A picture box essentially allows you to put a picture into your Windows Forms application and you can load those images from a number of sources. You can either load them in at design time whilst you're building your app if they're going to be static, or you can pull them in from files whilst the program is running. So let's jump into Visual Studio and take a look. So we'll be continuing on from yesterday. We'll be reusing this user interface and we'll just be adding some extra stuff to it. So we'll go into our toolbox and we will grab a picture box. Just grab that one and we'll just stretch it out. So that's the full size of our window here so we can see what's going on. So by default, it's not very interesting. It's just a gray box. If we come into our properties window down here, let's just give it a nicer name, so we'll call it pick example. And if we scroll through some of these properties, you will see we have one called image. If we click on these dots here, we can click local resource and we can import an image. So on my desktop I have an image called logo, so we'll bring that one in and click OK, and you can see what's happened is it's kind of just showing us the corner of it, and that's because we need to update the, well, I mean, we could use that, and we could, if we made the box really, really big, but you know, our user interface can't really cope with that. So what we'll need to do is adjust how the image is rendered. So if we just scroll down to size mode, and in size mode, we've got a few different options. So stretch could work, but you'll see this is actually supposed to be a circle, and because the box isn't perfectly square, it's kind of squishing it from the top. So I tend not to use stretch. Auto size will actually just make the box the full size, even though you can't see it. So I'll just undo that. And center, we'll just put it in the center and it will give us a slice out of the center. So you see this is actually the center of the logo. The most useful one, and probably the only one you'll ever use, is zoom. And what you'll see with zoom is it just fits it inside of the box and it keeps the aspect ratio the same, so it doesn't squash it. It'll just make it a bit smaller or a bit taller or a bit wider depending on how much space is available. But it will allow the image to look like it's supposed to, and it will let you see all of the image. So that's a good way of putting in static images. If we go into our code behind, and if we look in our button click function, and what we'll do in here is we'll just add some new lines. So we'll say pick example, and we can see actually this image, this image property, which we set using the designer, is actually, it takes a type of, if we hover over it, you'll see it takes image as a variable. So image, it's an image type property, and we can actually look at pulling images from files on our file system. So what we might find is we could set the image to image dot from file, and then we just need to pass in a file path in here. So one way we could get an image to play with is we could actually just add a new item, or an existing item actually. So we'll add an existing item. We'll go onto my desktop and we will change this filter to all files. And I've got some monsters on here, so let's pull in those monsters. And if you remember when we did reading of text files, we did something very similar. We created a text file in our project, and then what we had to do was we had to select the files we wanted to copy into our output directory, and we had to click in copy to output directory. We select copy always. And what this does is when we run our program, it will copy these three files into the same folder that our program is running in. And that's really useful because then we can guess the path that they'll be at. So we might not know what folder our program's in when it runs, but we can check that using the environment object. So we can say environment.current directory, and then we know these images will be just on the end of there. So we could just add a bit more path on the end. Let's say slash monster1.png. And then that will look in the directory we're currently running in. These will have already been copied there when we compiled our program, and then we'll just pick one of those off of the end, and then we'll assign it to our image. So if we go ahead and run that, so we've got our logo, and when we click our button, we get our monster. And that's basically it. Any one of those images we've added would work now. Monster 1, Monster 2, Monster 3. We can pull them all in. And that's a way you can sort of programmatically load images from the folder that your application is running in. And this becomes even more useful later. You know, maybe your program might be downloading these from somewhere. So you might not necessarily know about them when you're at the point of sort of designing your program in the designer. Just selecting an image and importing it the way we did at the beginning is absolutely fine. But sometimes images need to be a bit more dynamic. Maybe it's an icon that changes when something happens. And that's when you would start to look at updating those images in your code behind files. Hi, I hope you found that video useful. If you have any comments or feedback, then please leave me a comment below. I'm currently doing new videos every single day, so if you'd like to be notified about those, then hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.